Today's movie is On the Beach, the 1959 post-apocalyptic drama directed by Stanley Kramer from a script by John Paxton, based on the novel by Neville Shute. The film stars Gregory, Peck, Ava Gardner, Anthony Perkins, Donna Anderson, and Fred Astaire. Set in 1964, only 5 years after the original release of this film, the story takes place a few months after a world war has resulted in nuclear Armageddon. The population of the world has been obliterated, and in Melbourne, at the southernmost point of Australia, the remaining population waits for the deadly radiation to reach them. With only a few months left to live, we see the varying reactions of people to their impending doom reflected in the main characters of the movie. Young naval officer Peter, Anthony Perkins, tries to remain stoic as he cares for his emotionally fragile wife Mary and their newborn baby. Dwight Towers, Gregory Peck, is an American submarine captain far from home and unable to accept the reality that his wife and children have been killed in the nuclear war. Moira, Ava Gardner, is a lonely woman seeking solace in booze, one-night stands and parties while she searches for the love she has never known as she waits for the world to end. As an evocation of a post-apocalyptic world, On the Beach remains one of the most disturbing and upsetting pieces of speculative fiction ever committed to celluloid. And as incredible as this film is, I have to warn you, it is genuinely upsetting and maybe not the kind of film you want to watch during a pandemic. The spectre of human mortality hangs over On the Beach like a looming cloud of radioactive fallout. This movie dwells in uncertainty, isolation, vulnerability, and the inevitability of death in a way that few films have ever dared to do. Watching On the Beach is a little bit like being punched in the heart over and over again. The impact is almost unbearably painful, but of course it is designed to be. The point of this film was to provide a cautionary tale of the most urgent kind. With both the original book and the film emerging from the depths of the Cold War when the threat of nuclear devastation seemed imminent and the survival of the human race itself was at stake, the stakes could not have been higher. On the Beach immerses us into a world of grief of various kinds. Grief for our own mortality, the loved ones we will lose, and also grief for the things in our life which will never be, the opportunities we will never have. But underlying it all, there is something greater and much, much darker. Part of the film's very weighty burden of grief is grief for humanity itself. Grief for both humanity's impending destruction and also grief for humanity's stupidity in destroying itself so needlessly. Make no mistake and be warned, On the Beach is a film about suicide. At the heart of its speculative fiction premise, there are questions which feel almost taboo to say out loud. What if humanity did destroy itself? And is humanity going to destroy itself? And this perverse suicidal impulse in the human spirit is expressed repeatedly by characters throughout the film. I can't think of another film that forces viewers to confront suicide as bluntly or as repeatedly as On the Beach does. This is a story in which the characters don't kill each other, they only kill themselves. And as a metaphor for the madness of the Cold War, it is painfully effective. The film asks us what the senseless race towards nuclear war would mean for us as individuals. And the answer it gives is in some of the most painful scenes imaginable. Peter must explain to Mary about the suicide pills that the government has issued and that while he's away on his naval mission, if she gets sick with radiation, she will have to use them on herself, but also on their newborn baby. The Phillip Island Grand Prix becomes a high-octane display of public suicides, as reckless racers crash and burn, choosing to die doing something they love rather than wait out the radiation cloud. Long queues of people form outside a hospital dispensary giving out suicide pills. And of course, spoiler alert, the suicides of some of the main characters form the film's shattering conclusion. On the Beach's very grim message is made all the more harrowing by having a cast of beloved Hollywood stars at its center. To see the glamorous Ava Gardner facing existential horror is somehow even more upsetting than I think it would be if it was an unknown actor. The film treads a really uneasy line between using American actors to portray Australian characters, and most of them don't come anywhere close to a convincing Australian accent, and using that star power to add weight to its emotional punch. I would suggest that the latter does make up for the former. Personally, I don't think I will ever recover from the sight of Fred Astaire committing suicide in this film. This scene has an impact that could not fail to cause real distress to film lovers and to anyone who's even remotely aware of Fred Astaire's usually sunny persona. When such a beloved figure as Fred Astaire commits suicide in a film, you know things are serious. Likewise, Gregory Peck, whose familiar and reassuring quality as a wholesome and heroic screen presence is undermined and filled with tension by his character's trajectory in this movie. But really, it is Anthony Perkins, 1 year before Psycho would establish his stardom forever, who steals the movie from a cast of Hollywood heavyweights in On the Beach, and this is no mean feat. Perkins is the only American actor in the film who manages a really convincing Australian accent, and I feel that this naturalism and realism extends to every aspect of his character. His ordinariness and vulnerability really lend his character a poignancy that just anchors this film and connects so much to the viewer. The role of Norman Bates might have overshadowed the rest of Perkins' career, but I think his role in On the Beach should be counted among his finest work. It really shows the nuance, sensitivity, and remarkable skill he had in connecting with an audience. To me, as a Melburnian, the other notable member of the cast is Melbourne itself. It's hard to say how I would have reacted to this film had its landscapes and landmarks not been so very familiar to me, but to see your own city as the backdrop to an apocalyptic drama has always given On the Beach a unique significance for me. Now, revisiting On the Beach during a pandemic, it's hard not to see it as weirdly prophetic and even more upsetting than before. During the pandemic lockdown of Melbourne's second wave last year in 2020, the nightly news would show footage of the deserted streets of Melbourne, which were so similar to the scenes of deserted Melbourne streets in On the Beach. And again, I feel like I have to warn you, this is really tough viewing during the present pandemic crisis. If I have one qualm about this remarkable film, it's the soundtrack, which takes the Australian folk ballad Waltzing Matilda and just beats you over the head with it for the entire duration of the film. Even the characters in the film appear sick of the song, and there's one notable scene in which Dwight and Moira are just being tormented by people singing the song. Like the radiation, this song in the film just seems like this terrible presence that we cannot get away from. Is that the point of it? I'm not sure. Minor qualms aside though, On the Beach remains a singularly shocking and absolutely haunting film. As a warning vision about the end of mankind, it really succeeds in hitting the viewer where it hurts. And be warned, it really hurts. Watching On the Beach during a pandemic might well be more than some viewers can stand. I'm not kidding, it does seem too real, too prescient, too painful, and too insightful into man's tendencies towards self-destruction. That a film made 62 years ago can still provide such a shattering movie-going experience is a testament to the power of its storytelling and to its insight into the darker regions of humanity's heart. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.